Coverage of a ceasefire in Gaza and the threshold of a monumental change throughout the Middle East. First, earlier this week, big news came out of Hebron. 5 Arab clan sheikhs sent a letter to Israel's economy minister recognizing Israel as a Jewish state and stating their goal of having Hebron secede from the Palestinian Authority. In 2018, the late Scott Ross interviewed a Hebron sheikh from one of the clans, Ashraf Jabri, along with his Jewish neighbor and friend, Noam Arnan. Little did we know then that their views and advocacy would blaze a new pathway to peace 7 years later. Here's a portion of that interview.
The PLO signed the Oslo agreements 25 years ago. Until today, we didn't reach peace. It's the opposite. We started with a very big problem.
In the Oslo Accord, the Israeli government had brought the PLO to control the local population. And they said, you bring those people, the corrupted and the terrorists, to control us. Why? I feel ashamed about it. We disappointed them, we betrayed them.
What did the PLO think of you?
I don't care what the PLO thinks about me. What's important for me is how we can all live together in this area, in the state of Israel.
Have you been able to influence other Arabs and other leaders to your way of thinking?
Yes, of course. 90% of the Palestinian people are looking for their own future.
CBN News Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell joins us here in the studio. Chris, I want to get your thoughts on this Gaza ceasefire, but first, this Hebron letter and these 5 sheikhs and their clans, I mean, that is very significant. Your thoughts?
Very significant and could be a game changer, Gary. And sort of Scott, our late colleague there, was sort of ahead of the game 7 years ago. And this
a bit
represents prophetic indeed. Yeah. And I would think that this represents the view of many Palestinians that don't get the attention they would want. Sometimes because of fear for their own lives, because this kind of dialogue, this kind of sentiment that they want to actually join the Abraham Accords, recognize a Jewish state, is not welcome in parts of the Palestinian Authority. It represents a very pointed threat to the Palestinian Authority, to Mahmoud Abbas, the president, who's now in, I think, the 17th year of his 4-year term. But many people don't really appreciate the Palestinian Authority. They know them, they're corrupt. And certainly from an Israeli point of view, they advocate pay to slay. They encourage terrorism. But this could be a game changer with the caveat, Gary, that there are opposition already against these 5 clans.
Well, we're seeing since the 12-day war with Iran, it seems like a change.
Yeah. If you remember, since October 7th, the darkest day in the state of Israel since the Holocaust and for the Jewish people, and now we have that Hamas has been defeated, basically. Hezbollah is a shadow of what it was, as well as Iran now. And we're seeing a shifting of nations throughout the Middle East, the possibility of other nations like Syria, Lebanon, maybe Saudi Arabia, actually joining the Abraham Accords and maybe part of the Palestinian people.
Well, let's talk about Lebanon. U.S. envoy to Syria, Tom Barrack, met with Lebanese President Joseph Aoun and said this.
What we're doing is saying, you want change, you change it, and we'll be there to support you. If you don't want change, it's no problem. The rest of the region is moving at Mach speed. And you will be left behind. Sadly, you will be left behind. And this is really the message. It's the message from Secretary Rubio. It's the message from President Trump. It's the message from the world. Is come on, get with it. You're the pearl of the Mediterranean.
Chris, Barrack was referring to disarming Hezbollah, and that would go along with the UN resolution, 1701, 19 years ago, by the
2006.
way, never taken effect. Lebanese government seems to be afraid of civil war starting again if they disarm Hezbollah.
Right.
So do you think it's going to happen? Will they be disarmed?
It could be. I think what Israel is doing right now since the ceasefire is actually disarming Hezbollah day by day. They're hitting targets. They're hitting Hezbollah operatives and terrorists inside South Lebanon. They're hitting tunnels. They're hitting weapons caches. So Israel is already doing the job. The question is, will the Lebanese army continue to do the job? But we're seeing, the statements like this, and we're seeing some Lebanese politicians speaking out against Hezbollah. and talking that they have led the Lebanese people down the wrong path. They want to change. And so this opens up an opportunity for maybe some sort of normalization with Israel. Certainly opposition by the people of Hezbollah that are still adhere to that kind of Shiite ideology. But we're seeing maybe a possibility of major changes in Lebanon.
Well, let's talk about one of those, Syria. The Syrian President al-Shara was just in the UAE meeting with the heads of the government there. And he has said, I guess there are reports out that he may be meeting with Netanyahu in Washington in September to begin this normalization of relations process. He wants to see a part of the Golan returned, maybe a third of it, if not returned, at least a lease, so he can placate some of the radical elements in his own country. Will that happen?
Well, it seems to be on its way. I mean, and President Trump seems to be the one pushing this. I mean, he met with al-Shara and President Erdogan not too long ago, and he's the one is lifting this the sanctions against Syria. So it seems like President Trump wants to continue this this momentum towards an Abraham Accords. You know, when I was leaving Israel and I had to go through Amman to come back here to the United States, our taxi driver said his dream is to have breakfast in Amman, lunch in Damascus, and dinner in Beirut. And you know, maybe we're on the cusp of something that really could change the dynamics of the Middle East.
And quickly, Chris, the Gaza ceasefire, is it going to happen?
It remains to be seen whether or not they're going to have a ceasefire and pull out of Gaza, or they're going to actually stay in Gaza and maybe have a military governing entity there for some time. We'll see. It's lots of moving parts. Certainly, Gary, people need to be praying for wisdom, for Prime Minister Netanyahu, President Trump, and the peace of Jerusalem.
The peace of Jerusalem. Thank you, Chris Mitchell, our Middle East Bureau Chief, for joining us here in the studio.
Great to be with you, Gary.